This is a great topic. A couple of people in my program have issues right this second around issues with your first year in the industry and pricing clients, etc. So I'm going to cover lots of info. So first off, maybe I'll start off with first year in industry. What you don't want to do is do what I did. So in my first year, and really when I took full-time position at a fairly large farm, CFO, started outsourced, but I ended up going full time with them for a couple of years. We had every problem under the sun, but just looking at it from my perspective, I had a very long, successful career. I won an award for the highest score in the state of Oklahoma on the CPA exam. I'm out of Big Four. I built companies to big exits. I've run 200 employee teams. I've had a long career, but didn't matter in 2015, whenever it was. I was at square one in this industry. I estimate I spent 10 to 20 hours a week on just searching for information or building tools and work papers. That was just year one. I continued to build tools and work papers up to this day, still 7, 8 years later, still building stuff. So even in year one, I estimate easily 1,000 hours. 1,000 hours. I was charging $300 an hour for my contract CFO stuff back then. That's $300,000 just in year one. Not to mention the headache and the time and stress and going down wrong paths. So I'm biased on this, but if you are a solo CPA, enrolled agent, bookkeeper, whatever, and you want to go into this niche, first off, that's a great decision. I tell people finding and picking a great niche and becoming an expert in it, if you can do those two things, you'll probably 5 to 10x your lifetime earnings. Now, that said, cannabis, CBD, hemp are clearly the number one industry in the U.S. right now. We're expecting 8 to 10x growth over the next 7 years. And by the way, that's COVID proof, that's recession proof. That's a pretty big deal when you look around you right now and the stock market's falling apart, the bond market's falling apart, we have inflation, companies are getting hit, industries are getting hit, but not cannabis. And it won't. Cannabis it's like liquor. It is literally recession and even depression proof. So it's a great industry to get into. If you want to get in this industry, blatant plug, you would be crazy not to join Dope CFO. Some people do it that way. But even if you have my skill set that I had, which most of you don't, back then, you're gonna spend hundreds and thousands of hours of time and dollars, and you still won't be able to offer what people in Dope CFO can offer their clients, which is everything. So anyway, so that would be step one. Your first year, if you come in like, say, Nicole last week, who knew nothing about cannabis, comes into our program, her first year is going to be amazing. She's going to kill it, and she's going to be part of the number one community in the U.S. And so versus someone else who may just accidentally, they're in Oklahoma, they landed 4 dispensary clients, they have no idea what they're doing, what the issues are, what the POS systems are, the seed to sale, or what does that mean, and all this stuff. So they're going to really beat their head against the wall. So that's kind of a high level first year in the industry on your choices. So yeah, if this is a side hustle or whatever, yeah, you may not benefit from us, but if it's not, yeah, you would be smart to go around that route. Another issue we talk about, how do you price these clients? So when you're coming in to the industry, and we're very, very entrenched in the western half of the U.S., and we're just brand new in the eastern half of the U.S., but lots and lots of states have legalized, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Michigan. It's coming everywhere. It will be everywhere. We've gone, on an upward curve for the last 8 years, and that will not change. Doesn't matter who's running the country, who's running states, red states, blue states. We're moving forward. We're not going backwards, and that's because a majority of Americans want cannabis. Look at a state like Nebraska that's illegal. They just did a big poll, Gallup poll through there, and 8 out of 10 people in Nebraska want medical cannabis. Well, when 8 out of 10 people in your state actually agree on something, it's going to happen. So when you come into the industry, so people in our program, they can serve clients in California or New Jersey or wherever. They're going to be a mix. So if you go get a California client, you're going to be dealing with lots of cleanup, probably 3 to 5 years of incorrect tax returns. That's going to be one kind of really messy engagement. So we tell people, first off, spread your outreach around. I don't want you just getting all your clients in California, even if you live there. I want you, go get one. It'll be a great experience. But go get one in Michigan or Illinois or New Mexico where it's a brand new startup. Different issues, but we have solutions for both, and they're both different. They're priced, and so if I go in and see a California client and it's just messy as heck and it's going to be cleanup, I'm going to say, look, we're going to come in. So, and again, when I say pricing, how do you price and value-based price and all that? Well, it depends what you're offering. So a dope CFO VIP is offering think Lamborghini level quality of service. We are providing massive value. We are doing rock solid correct accounting. We are building permanent audit trails every month. We are doing the exactly correct cost accounting. We're doing the tax returns right. We're building perpetual data rooms. We have startup tools. We're doing all this stuff. And so if we come into a messy client that maybe their revenues are 12 million, but the books are in a disaster, the tax returns are a disaster, we're going to come up with a price on the go forward based on their revenues, their entity structure, their consolidations or not, their combinations, the overall complexity, how many verticals they're in, many factors. And so I get misquoted on this all the time. Andrew, price is based on your sales. Nope, that's totally incorrect. I will charge a pre-revenue farm that's pre-revenues for 2 years, lots and lots of money if they want to come in under me and even with zero revenues. So we're going to look at many factors and we're going to price it for the value we're going to bring. Usually it's going to be 6 figures for most clients. It could be 120 grand a year. It might be 200, 300, 400 grand a year. Although our solution is an alternative to what some companies have mistakenly done. They've hired, random CFO or CPA that is not in the industry, and then they hire some staff and they're spending, $500,000, 600, 700 grand a year, and things are done incorrectly. So our solution, it is good value. It is priced well, but we're going to say, okay, if I hire you today, where are we? June 16th. Okay, we'll just start July 1. That's the midpoint of the year. Starting July 1, you're going to pay me $8,000 a month or whatever it is for the go forward financials. Now, as we go backwards in cleanup, I'm going to charge a pretty high price per hour, probably $100 an hour, because I have no idea if I'm going to outsource that into our community, and I don't know how much time that could take. Months and months. It could take 10 hours, I don't know, so I'm going to price that by the hour. But meanwhile, we're also charging a fixed value-based fee on the go forward. That's for an existing company with real revenues and real messes. And that's pretty simple to do. And it's also take it or leave it. We don't negotiate with them on that side. But if we come into the startup world, which is that's where we're going to see massive growth. The eastern half of the U.S., even New Mexico, Arizona, et cetera. It's not just eastern. We will see literally, I think, 200,000 to 300,000 new companies. That's a lot of companies. Most capitalize 5 to 10 million on day one. So they're going to have money and capital. They're also going to be pre-revenue. So say that startup, they're going to start a manufacturing plant. They're going to make gummy bears and all these different products or beverages or whatever. It might be a year, 18 months to build the plant, get staffed up, and actually make stuff. Pre-revenue. Same with the farm. Buy a farm, indoor, outdoor, spending millions of dollars before their revenue. Same with the dispensary chain. Does that mean us as accountants are gonna work for free or give them this huge, massive discount? Hell no. We're not going to do that. And guess what? When I was out there on the farm for 2 years, I realized real quickly the plumbers were charging 10 grand a month. The electricians were charging 10 to 20 grand a month. The attorneys were charging loads of money. And not a single one of them said, oh, don't worry about it. I know you're just building the farm. You can pay me a couple of years later. They want their money right then and there. Believe me. And so, we're service providers too. We shouldn't be cutting deals unless there's a sweet equity deal on the other side of it. So that's one issue on the startups. The way I'm going to price a startup, it could be all over the place. So if someone comes into our program and they're brand new and they landed a new farm and they're just, or a potential prospect, and the people are really conscious of their dollars, they haven't raised their money yet. I'm like, look, if you've got free time, you don't have a job yet. Yeah, maybe normally I would price that, not you, but me. I'd price that at 10 grand a month. But if you're brand new and you just want to learn a ton, get referrals to dispensaries because it's a farm, get testimonials, and learn a bunch about actually how things work on a farm or a manufacturing plant, yeah, you might go in for a really cheap rate for 90 days and get your feet wet. But if you're any more established or you even have at least one client, we're going to go in and price that based on the complexity. It's very, very important that we get on with these clients early so we can, what does it mean when they're starting a big manufacturing plant or a farm or a dispensary chain and spending $5 or $10 million or more? They're going to have investors and they're going to have lenders, and it might be their relatives, it might be a hedge fund, it might be lenders, and those people are stakeholders in the business. So we've got to make sure we are setting things up from day one, everything, making sure their compliance is done right, their licensing is done right, all of their legal and entity structures. Someone just posted in here today, a new farm was like wanting to give one of their contractors 4% equity or something, and they were just going to write a little deal. And I was like, no, get it. Anytime you're talking about equity, that's very, very regulated industry for both GAAP and tax. You make darn sure you got an attorney involved. You make sure they get those documents on paper. We're making sure in our PBC list, we're getting all of those legal documents, leases, insurance policies, entity documents. We want to make sure they're all on the table. We have them all. There's no side deals going wrong or verbal deals or just written out deals. We want a real attorney legal documents if anyone's given equity to anybody. So we want to make sure we do that. Once we have a legal deal, then we can account for it. And so if someone comes to us, how do I account for giving my contractor 3% equity? You say, well, we don't yet. We go get legal documents once those are signed and agreed upon, and we can give input into our thoughts on those legal documents. But once that's signed, that will tell us how to account for it, depending on what, maybe it's straight equity, maybe it's net profit interest, maybe it's phantom equity, maybe it's stock options. There's a gazillion things you could do around that. So we're gonna wait and see what that does, and then legal comes first, then accounting. There's always paper before we record something in the books, whether it's the power bill or a lease document or a note agreement or a investor document. So that's one thing to think about. But again, as we're pricing that, so it depends on the deal. Say it's we were in Chicago last week speaking at an event. One of my students, Matt, had a social equity applicant that their investors were doing some shady things, and they had a very valuable license, and they were super nice people. And so, yeah, we encourage everyone to donate time and dollars into good causes, and social equity in this industry is a good cause. And so we were talking about how we're going to price this out, or how he was, and maybe it was going to be a very, very low price or almost free for the first 90 days. They're going to help them get the license situated and figured out. Then they'd have another fee up to when the actual capital that was raising coming in to build the dispensaries out comes in, and then you get, full fee, just like everyone else. So when they open up their dispensary chain, they're going to have lots of fees, one of which is going to be the dope CFO fee for the accounting. And so you can tailor it around your own situation, and you can even potentially ask for equity. If they're really tight on the cash the first 6 months, maybe we'll ask for equity as well. And then, if it's a good cause, you can throw in some of your time as well. So again, you're going to be dealing with messy old clients. I can almost guarantee you any client that's been around for a year or two that comes to you, there's going to be a big cleanup for as long as they've been in existence. And so that's one issue. Another issue is the startups. Once we get the client to hire us, either way, we do a very professional onboarding process, and it depends on the client. I'm charging them money, and so I tell them, it's in your interest to get me what I need. So we have a PBC list. We're going to start looking at setting up internal controls, accounting, policies and procedures, and corporate governance that will make their investors and lenders happy as well as running the company better. We'll set up a perpetual data room. What else do we have in there? We have an action plan. We'll get the correct chart of accounts tailored for the niche. We will do all that stuff, and we'll usually hit it two directions. We'll start putting in processes and systems for going forward July 1, as well as that, but then we'll meanwhile be working in the background on cleanup, however long that takes. We are going to be in any situation making sure inventory, both cash and product, whether it's a dispensary or farm, is controlled tightly. Lots of inventory counts every month for everybody, for all those things, but on cash situations, there will be daily cash counts at the dispensary, et cetera, and tied out every single day. Cycle counts for inventory. Someone asked about a POS system today in our group. Is that a good one? And someone said, well, if the client says it's working good for them, be careful of that. You know, when I went into this client this several years ago, they had a POS system, and they're like, man, it does these great reports. It's awesome. We're totally good. And Metric is syncing with QuickBooks, and everything's so good. And I was like, are you sure? Let's go in and count some inventory. It was a total wreck. We could pick, 30 products, and almost every single one, there would be one number of what we actually counted. That's the actual, what I call the truth. That's how many of those boxes of red gummy bears. There's 12. And then we go look at the seed to sales system, and there'd be 8. And then we go look at the POS system, and there'd be 14. And so the POS system can appear to be working. It can print beautiful reports and still be completely wrong. So be careful on that. If you're not doing cycle counts all the time, especially at the dispensary, monthly at the other ones as well. Trying to look what else we're talking about. No accounting controls. So yeah, we're going to be struggling with these different things and issues, and there's a lot of work involved. And so people in my program, we are not looking for what many of our competitors are doing, particularly people not in the program. They're getting many clients. They're charging them $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, and they're doing a crappy job. They're not doing all the things that need to be done around controls and compliance and counts and building permanent audit trail and all that stuff. I'd rather people in Dope CFO. I want them, anyone in my program, I want them to build $1 million firm with 3, maybe 4 clients, not 10 or 20. You can actually get a client that becomes $1 million client, one client. We have a recent example of that looks like it will be very close to that by year 2. So that's a better business model. Let's give massive value to a fewer amount of clients. Your life will be easier. You'll have more fun. Your clients will love you, and you'll make a ton of money. So that's my recommendation on that side of things. So that's where we go. And by the way, if I go in and get a client and I pitch that, yeah, it's going to be $250,000 a year going forward, cleanup is separate. We're billing you at $100 an hour. They're going to make cleanup a lot easier because they realize it. They get it. They buy in that accounting and tax and entity stuff is important. And so they're going to buy into all that stuff. So anyway, I'm trying to think if I missed anything. I don't see any comments. Hopefully this was helpful to everybody. There's a lot to consider, but again, that's how we do things in Dope CFO. We have a different business model than most, and hope you all enjoyed this. And if you have any questions, you can comment here or send us a message.